Director of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Mr. Paulus Noa, now joins us for an update on the agency's continued efforts in streamlining preventative and reactive measures while curbing corruption head-on. Good morning, Mr. Noa. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Namibia.
Yes, good morning, madam.
Let's take a look at the year 2022 in retrospect. In your opinion, how did the Commission fare in delivering its mandate in this past year?
Yeah, the Commission has been doing its work as it's mandated by the Act. We have been investigating, that's one. We have been also raising awareness. And the most important thing, we've also been doing work in the area of corruption risk assessment, whereby we held workshops trying to highlight to the institutions what they needed to put in place in order to prevent corruption in their respective institutions.
Have you experienced any hurdles in terms of the implementation and the execution of these processes?
Yeah, the thing is like this. Whenever we conduct corruption risk assessment, we come up with a mitigating plan. And those mitigating plans are recommendations that we usually submit to institutions for the institutions to start with implementation. The responsibility of implementing those recommendations does not lie with the Anti-Corruption Commission, but rather it lies with the respective institutions. There are some of the institutions, after we have submitted the mitigating plans, they start immediately with the implementation of the set recommendations. But there are some of the institutions that delay in the implementation of the recommended mitigating plan. And that is what caused this institution not really to improve in what they needed to do.
Now, Mr. Noa, with that said, in 2019, the Anti-Corruption Commission and stakeholders in the fishing industry did a risk assessment at a workshop in Swakopmund, if you recall. What were some of the major corruption risks that were identified with that assessment?
All right, let me start first by saying that, you see, the fisheries industry is one of the main source of Namibia's economy in our respective view. And that is basically the reason why Anti-Corruption Commission, in collaboration with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, we decided to hold that workshop so that we can identify the risks that are found in the industry concerned and come up with recommendations. And some of the risks that were identified is that the Act has been very, very old, and it has not been reviewed for quite a while. And the officials within the institution concerned, within the ministry concerned, they were complaining that the Act does not make provision for transparency. And that is one of the weaknesses that was identified. The other weakness that was identified is the lack of transparency in the manner the quotas are being allocated. You know, the inspectors and observers told the workshop that sometimes they don't even know the number of quotas that have been allocated to a particular given company. So they rely on the company itself to provide them with information, meaning that the ministry does not provide data to these observers and inspectors. And these are the people who are supposed to be on these vessels to even establish whether these people are catching the specified species that has been allocated to them, and whether they are really complying with the quotas that have been allocated to them. That is one shortcoming. The other shortcoming that was identified is that the inspectors and the observers, they do not undergo some training so that they know what is expected from them, what they needed to do, how they should inspect these vessels. And they also complain that there are so few of them that some of the vessels goes out without the inspectors and the observers on board. You know, the list of the recommendations that come out of this, We submitted them to the then Minister Bernard Esau. I wrote a letter to him, and I advised that they should start with the implementation of this recommendation. I also wrote a letter to the Executive Director, Dr. Mauri Nkirire. I wrote a letter to him. Same again, I indicated to them that they should start with the implementation of the recommendation that came out of this workshop. Whether they have implemented this, because I requested them to provide ACC with feedback on what they have done. We have not received that feedback yet from that ministry concerned. Whether they have started with the recommendation, it will be better if the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation can approach the ministry concerned and find out from them whether they have implemented the recommendation that came out of that. Because ACC has not received feedback from them since I wrote a letter in August 2019 to them, trying to urge them to start with the implementation of the recommendation. Now we are even planning to come up with another workshop again on this industry, because to us this industry is very critical, but we can only do that once we have been provided with feedback on what has been done, because it is resources that are involved. When we are conducting this international organization like the UNODC to come and facilitate in collaboration with ACC this kind of workshop, we want to get results out of this in terms of implementation. But I think it will be better when, as much as you have contacted me, it will be better if you can also conduct the ministry concerned and find out to what extent they have implemented the recommendation that came out of that workshop.
Mr. Noa, let's take a look at the impact that these recommendations and these implementations have made in the fishing industry.
You see, if the recommendation could be implemented to the letter, then definitely this is going to increase transparency and accountability in that fishing industry. And that is what we want from this. As I said already, that this is the industry which can really build the economy of this country, and no chance needs to be taken on it. We want to see to it that every decision that is made in that industry is done transparently. Whenever quotas are allocated to the respective companies, it is done transparently, so that at the end of the day, it should be the Namibian people who will be benefiting from the decisions that are being made, and also from the allocation of quota to these companies. In the absence of that, it will be unfortunate that the situation will remain as such, and then it will not change. And we may find ourselves again in a situation whereby we keep on investigating some irregularity in the fishing industry that we do not really want to continue doing.
What can the nation expect from the Anti-Corruption Commission in 2023? What kind of work can the nation expect from the ACC with regards to reducing these type of risks in the fishing industry?
All right, the Anti-Corruption Commission is going to increase its effort in identifying corruption risk in various institutions, not only in the fishery industries. But at the same time, the Anti-Corruption Commission is also going to increase the momentum on raising awareness as well as investigation. When we receive the report on where we need to investigate, we are also going to increase our efforts in terms of investigation, the corruption-related allegations.
Mr. Noa, for those who are not in the know, what enabling platforms are available for locals who would like to discreetly and conducively share information on corruptive events in the country?
Can you repeat your question, please?
For those who are not in the know, what enabling platforms are there available for local citizens, for people that would like to share information on issues of corruption in the country?
Well, at least for now, the number of Namibian people knows how to reach Anti-Corruption Commission. We have got a website which our officials are always informing the public how to reach us. We have got a toll-free number. The Namibian people knows where to reach the Anti-Corruption Commission. And they also know the offices of the Anti-Corruption Commission. We have an office in Windhoek, we have an office in Oshakati, we have an office in Ochivarongo, we have an officer in Swakopmund, and they know where to reach them. It's so easy to reach us, not only through the Anti-Corruption Commission offices. Reporting corruption can also be reported to the Namibian police. Any Namibian police charge office, they can report that one. And the police can easily reach us if they feel that that is a matter of magnitude that must be investigated by the Anti-Corruption Commission. Otherwise, there are many different platforms through which the Namibian people can reach the Anti-Corruption Commission so that we can take on whatever they are reporting to the ACC.
Well, thank you very much for taking time out to talk to us this morning, Mr. Noa. Before we let you go, any concluding remarks?
All right, thank you. The concluding remark is simply to say that Namibians, let us continue fighting corruption in our beautiful country, because that is the only solution, the only option that we have to make sure that this is a country which is corrupt-free. And the other thing again is that we need to understand that this is fight that we must jointly fight. It is not something that must be left to the single institution, but all of us together, we have to join in the fight against corruption. Let us raise awareness together. Let us prevent, and above all, let us prevent corruption, because the best way we can fight corruption is when we prevent it from occurring. So I'm still calling the Namibian people that let's continue committing ourselves. Namibia is already on a positive trajectory, and we just need to increase the momentum and make our country a country shining in terms of fighting corruption.
Director of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Mr. Paulus Noa, speaking to us on Good Morning Namibia. We'll be back in a short while. Don't go away.